Mr. Mayor Vergano, thank you for meeting me. This is like 9 months in the making here. All right? I think I asked you the first time at the fishing tournament over by the PIL.
That was just about a year ago.
Yeah,
so
I think that was
very
June, right? Yep. I appreciate you meeting me. Thank you
Glad
so much.
to be here. Thanks for having me.
So I'm Sean Annan. I'm a realtor in town over at Keller Williams. I've been in the business 22 years, and my kids go to school here. I'm very involved in the community here. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the community, and I get questions all the time. And some of them are kind of crazy questions. Some of them are, very, very logical and realistic questions. So instead of trying to answer them all, which I don't always have the answer, I'm like, you know what? Let's go directly to the source and let's see if we could really, put the most accurate information out there for the community. So I appreciate you taking the time here.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So my main focus, I know there's a lot of stuff going on commercial wise too. I really wanted to talk about the residential,
Okay.
being that's kind of, what the general community is really, I'm going to say concerned because it's not really concerned, but it's what's most talked about, right? So I know we got a bunch of stuff going on, and I guess I would like to start with the breakdown of the developments in units. Like we have Avalon, Wayne Bridge, Rockledge, GIF, like all those sites. I know kind of the newest, I guess, kind of biggest one around would be Avalon, right? That's the one that everybody's talking about.
Avalon Bay is a inclusionary development that is being built on Valley Road Extension. It's on two sides of Barber Pond Road.
Right. No, it's not the other way.
And 20% of that is set aside for low and moderate income housing. The reason that development's being built is because we have a mandate from the state of New Jersey that we must build X amount of low and moderate income housing units. Mm-hmm. Avalon Bay was an intervener in the workings of how we were going to build the units. So the state of New Jersey gave us a number of 1,700 in round 3. We were able to bring that number down with a vacant land adjustment. And even with the vacant land adjustment, we're going to end up with approximately 2,900 units, of which 20% will be set aside for low, moderate, and ultra low incomes.
Got it.
These are mandated by the state of New Jersey. We have absolutely no choice. Towns before us have litigated all the way up to the Supreme Court and have lost. So these are state mandates forced to us by the state of New Jersey. And I have an obligation as the mayor is to comply, or they're going to take me away. And more importantly, they would take away all of our capacity to do zoning ourselves. They would physically cancel our planning board and board of adjustment, and they would take over and make the decisions for the township.
Wow.
So these are forced upon us.
So it's a way that these guys kind of circumvent the town. They go directly to the state.
Well, the state comes up with a number. So that was round 3 that you see being built. The GIF, which hasn't been built yet. Toys R Us, which hasn't been built yet. Wayne Bridge hasn't been built yet. The only two you see really right now are the two Avalon Bay. And they look big and bold because they are.
Yeah. And you know what? They're close to the road. There were 2 commercial buildings there before, right? So,
correct. And Valley National decided to sell out to Avalon Bay.
So it's not like they were vacant lots and now all of a sudden you got these buildings there. There was something there before.
Right.
There was a lot of parking.
There was a lot of activity going on at Valley National Bank, and they decided to sell the buildings that they had that didn't put any money into for the last 20 years and move to something brand new in a different town.
Yeah. Which
so
makes
Avalon
sense.
came along, purchased the property, intervened in our 3rd round, and was awarded a certain density that we weren't happy with. It's the highest density that we have in the township right now. But like I said, all of that has to do with the state mandates. So if you take a look at a development that's going to be at GAF, that has a density of less than 5 units per acre. Even though there's 400 units, but there's 100 acres. So it's 4 point something per acre. Same thing with Toys R Us. It's 200 acres at Toys R Us, and there's going to be 1,300 units at Toys R Us. So the density is like 7 per acre. It's still low. If you took a look at developments like Lions Head Lake and Packanack Lake, those are similar densities. And density is the amount of units that are built per acre.
Right.
So we're really not happy with the densities that they were awarded, especially on the Valley Road section. But those are going to be apartment buildings. They're all rentals, even the condos, both sides. I think the confusing part was that the garage was built first.
Right. And everybody thought that
And
was
everybody
the
thought
parking
that was
garage or
it.
something.
And then all of a sudden, okay, that's going to be surrounded by apartment units. And like I said, 20% will be set aside.
And, you know, realistically, the remaining 80% of those, they're not going to be cheap.
Oh no, those are going to be market rate units.
They're going to be pretty expensive. You know, even the townhouses. I mean, you can't rent something. You can't rent a townhouse for less than $3,500, $4,000 in town
absolutely.
right now. Add in brand new, the amenities
Right,
that come
and
with
you
all
know
that
they're
stuff.
going to put in the marble and all that
Right.
kind of
They're
stuff.
gonna have the
and
fitness center. They're
it's
going to have
be
all
a
the
small
newness.
fortune to live there.
Correct.
And I always wonder, like, the state is mandating that we build these units. Who is going to come and occupy all of these units?
Yeah.
Right? If we actually built out the whole 2,900 that are approved, who's going to come here?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not like we're Hoboken or Jersey City. We don't have the view of the ocean. We don't have the lakes.
Right.
Who's going to want to move to spend $4,000 a month to live in a rental townhouse off of Valley Road Extension?
And the crazy thing is, they're building so many everywhere else around us too.
Right. So what I've said to people, if you don't like what's going on in Wayne, take a look at every other town you drive into.
Yeah.
And the other night at the council meeting, I read off 77 towns that are building affordable housing units just like Wayne.
Paramus too. Paramus, I think, is a big one that just came up too.
Oh, absolutely. So in round 4, there were only 3 towns in the entire state that were capped at 1,000 units. Of course, Wayne was one of them. And we're going to go again for a vacant land adjustment, hopefully to bring the number down. And then we're going to try to partner with some nonprofits to build some units because that gives you, you get bonus credits.
Gotcha.
Some people have said, well, why doesn't Wayne just build the units themselves? So I'm like, well, if you looked at how much money it would cost to do that, the unit's going to start cost-wise, let's say $300,000. So if you build 10 units, you're at $3 million. You build 100 units on your own, you're at $30 million, and you haven't even touched the iceberg of how many you have to use.
Correct.
And then the taxpayers are responsible for that,
Right.
for those money. And your taxes would clearly rise because of that.
Right.
And then
Gotta
you
find the money
become the
somewhere.
landlord. And that's the problem.
Right.
And think about if we had done that during we would have been the landlord with nobody forced to pay their rent.
Correct.
So you know who would have paid their rent? You and I and everybody
taxpayer.
else would be
Right.
paying, the taxpayers.
Yep.
So we have to be very careful. There's a fine line you have to watch. But I know people are not happy about those developments going in. But remember, they're going to bring in more people to do shopping in Wayne, to buy cars, to do banking.
Restaurants, for the
To
restaurants.
the restaurants, to do the dry cleaning. And we have no choice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I think that's the hardest part for people to understand. Like this is the state's doing, in a sense.
right, and it's not just Wayne; it's every
It's
other
everywhere.
town.
It's New Jersey.
So
It's all
everybody
New
gets
Jersey.
their own little number based on criteria, which is income of the community, available land, and how many units you have before. So we just get screwed each time. There's no question about it.
And it's funny because I have this outline, and I know that being in these interview situations, when I go through these things or when I outline these things, I'm like, okay, this is gonna organically create more questions just through one thing. Like I have the affordable housing further down the list, but it is kind of a hot button with the community, right? And they're like,
Well, I think mostly because there's a lot of misinformation.
Do
Do you
people
really think
hear-
I want to build 3,000 new housing units in Wayne? Absolutely. I moved into Wayne in 1962 with my parents.
Yeah.
I'm here forever.
Right.
I don't appreciate this, but I have an obligation as the mayor. I raise my right hand to follow the law. And the law tells us we must build units.
Yeah.
And the way that towns build units, it's a 4-to-1 ratio. So the developer gets to build 4 units at market rate and one unit at affordable rate.
And when people hear affordable housing, like they automatically think like projects, right? And like
These are
completely.
Well, this is
you
the
know,
whole goal of when you don't build your own.
Yeah.
Because when you build your own and you put all the groups together, then you have projects. The units are
Private
dispersed.
developers
Right.
and-
Private
yeah.
developers disperse the units within their development.
And they're there to turn a profit. This is what they do.
Oh, absolutely.
The town, you don't want to be a landlord.
And we certainly understand that, but this is how the state has come up with the formula for developers to participate.
Yeah. And it's let me say you can't fight City Hall, but you can fight City Hall if you got the state on your side.
I mean, I'd love to fight the state of New Jersey, but we will not win.
And you're going to spend a ton of money doing
Right.
it.
So
and
recently-
ultimately, it's going to be the taxpayers.
There were a bunch, like 30 towns that filed a lawsuit against the state, and they thought they were going to be successful. And I advised the council not to join in the lawsuit. First of all, it was $30,000 to join the lawsuit. I'm like, that's just a waste of money. There's no way they're going to win because it's our Supreme Court in New Jersey that ruled that this is the law.
Yeah.
So these are going to get built whether we like it or not. In fourth round, like I said, we're going to go for vacant land adjustment to try to bring the number down. And then we're going to try to do something with some nonprofits to build 100% affordable. But those will be smaller, 50 units at a time.
Got it.
But if the number's 1,000, you only build 50, you still got a long way to go.
Correct.
So we're convinced with the vacant land adjustment, the number should come way down because let's face it, drive through Wayne and find available property.
Doesn't
The
exist.
only available property that you have is north of Ratsura. That's the other people are asking, why are they all in the Wayne Hills district or
So
the
they're
Schuyler
right
district?
around my neighborhood, right? So I'm like, man,
we're
are my kids
circling
gonna
your
be
house. And you know
cramped in a
why we're
school?
doing
And-
that? Because there's no other property available.
right.
If there was other property available, the developers would be all over it.
So when I tell you, when I first really started traveling up Valley Road Extension, I would look and be like, this is going to be developed one day. Like I know you have the, JVC and like all the other things that were up there at one point. And
We just have to hope they all stayed. 'Cause,
correct.
I mean, the college took over one group.
yeah, thankfully for the college. Yep. Then you got the hotel that was built back there too. But then you had that, what was that Beckett Renkizer building or whatever?
Right, 1655
Correct.
Valley Road.
And so now they're trying to make that another Avalon.
That'll be in round 4.
That's in litigation right now, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, got it. And since it's an active litigation, we obviously can't, dive too deep into it. Is that like a litigation to not make it happen, or is it, to
Well,
limit?
let's just say we don't agree on the numbers that they're proposing to place on that piece of property.
Got it. Okay, got it. Which is probably costing the town some money to be able to do that too.
Right, and then people ask, well, what are we going to do with all the kids coming in?
So that's on my list too.
Okay. Trust me, I've been talking to people.
Correct.
So people ask me, what about all the kids coming in?
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple things. First of all, studies have shown that most parents want to have a house with a backyard
Yeah,
and a
it's great
swing
point.
set.
It's a great point.
If you live in an apartment,
Yeah.
typically you don't want to stay in an apartment. You want to move into a single family house. So of the 2,900 units that we've approved, only 8 are single family houses. And those will be $2 million houses because they'll all be on
Is that GAF?
That's part of the GAF property.
Got it.
And those are the only single family houses that we've approved. The rest are either townhouses, condos, apartments, stacked townhouses. So typically those bring in less children.
Yeah. Which makes
than
sense.
single family because nobody's building capes anymore.
No.
Right? There's no
that's-
split levels anymore.
You're not getting new construction for less than
Right,
$1.5
million
plus.
right. And it's not going to be a tiny little house. It's going to be 4,000 square feet
least, right.
with a 3-car garage and a hot tub in the back. That's what builders are building on lots
Correct.
that are available. So those days of new construction with, a new Lions Head Lake, it's not going to happen.
Does not happen.
It won't
Those are-
happen.
those
So
are gone.
they're building townhouses, they're building condos.
I had somebody ask me, I got people ask me all the time, like, what do you think this is going to do to property value? My property value is going to tank. And like my initial thought is like, oh my God, all this new construction, like, you build the fear up. But then when I actually sit there and think about it, you're bringing in these people to the town that are going to rent for however many years. Maybe they have one kid, maybe they got a baby. Now the baby starts going to school. They're like, you know what? We really like this town. We already have a kid in school. We want to buy a house. I think this actually creates more demand for housing in Wayne.
I mean, when you look today, how many houses are on the market today? 23?
There's 23 houses on the market. Yeah, it's crazy. In a
Your
town of
realtors-
60,000 people, you got 23 houses for sale.
Your realtors must be
Insane.
all killing each other over listings. I can't even imagine
it's insanity.
the listing wars.
It
But
is
think about
nuts.
it. There's only 23 houses available.
Yeah. So
Right, and then it sells 100,000 over the listing price. Either the listing agent went way low in the beginning to drag people in,
Right.
or people really want to live in Wayne, which I firmly believe they do.
it's a great town. It really is a great town.
I mean, I raised my family here. My son and my daughter are both still living in town, and a lot of people have. I have friends from kindergarten that are still in town.
Yep.
I just saw a guy this morning that I met in 1976 when we both joined the First Aid Squad.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's great.
And Wayne is growing. I mean, we just bought the YMCA
Right.
on Pike Drive. That was a big purchase of ours. But as I said to people, you know, that's really not just for today. That's for our children and our children's children.
Yeah, so I have that on my list too, and I wanted to talk to you about it
Sure.
as well. I think that's great, and I think we had a conversation on why that was bought too, and I think that's important to let people know, because you got some people like, oh, do we need this? You know, it's $2 million or 12 million, whatever it was. If you want to touch on that, I think that's an interesting
sure.
perspective, because
So,
that's sometimes you got to play defense.
We purchased that property because we didn't want it to become a warehouse.
Yeah.
And the YMCA was not doing well with the property. They had it on the market. They had plans for a couple things.
They actually had it on the market. I did not know that.
They had a couple things that they were working on. One was building apartments and condos on
And
their
that didn't need to be
property.
rezoned either.
No, it's zoned industrial, by the way.
Yeah. So somebody could have came in, put a $300,000 warehouse on, Pike Drive.
Probably about 210,000
right.
square. But can you imagine a 210,000 square foot warehouse on that piece of property directly opposite an elementary school?
And that's something that I would almost guarantee that
So
80% of the people out there don't know.
So we looked at that and we said, you know what? This is for our grandchildren,
Yeah.
right? So we offered 12.2. We did our due diligence and we came back and we closed at 11.5.
Nice. Okay.
So we've taken over. We're
Any
breaking-
any brokers in that deal?
No. Okay. No brokers. No commission paid. we
Got it.
we
That's a-
negotiated
I feel like that's a good deal, and with all the equipment and everything in there.
as is.
Yeah, that's not a bad deal.
It was built in 1976.
Yeah.
We've done a lot to it so far.
Right.
We've done a lot of painting, a lot of cleaning. I've learned about boilers leaking. It's been interesting. It does need some infrastructure.
It's like home
work,
ownership, right?
But our membership on our first day, we had 23 people. I was a little nervous.
Right.
We're now over 2,600 members.
Wow.
So we're growing strong.
It's only been a few months.
We offered a lot of program. We just started a cricket program.
Wow. You have pickleball there?
We have a lot of pickleball. We have pickleball 7 days a week. That's a cult to itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're trying to keep as many people happy as possible. We have a lot of seniors there. We have a lot of young people. I mean, for me, I'll stop there like on a Thursday night and see 28 kids playing basketball.
Yeah.
To me, that's like
My kid
great.
would go there a lot and play basketball at the Y.
Yeah. So
What's like? Do you know the membership numbers, like price wise and stuff like that? And give a quick
it
rundown.
ranges. I don't know them off the top of my
Gotcha.
head.
Gotcha. Somebody was telling me, I think for like a family of 5, it was like $100 or 112 or 110.
Yeah,
something like that.
it's never
That's a phenomenal
right.
deal.
It's not a big number.
Right. That's a phenomenal deal.
And we're going to do summer camp there.
There you go. Nice.
We're teaching swim lessons. We have dance. We have musicals.
Are the people that work there actual town employees? They're employed by the town?
What happened was we kind of let everybody go when we took over. And then we brought back most of the part-time employees. We transferred our Parks and Rec department, is now based out of One Pike Drive.
Gotcha. Okay.
And they're running the building. So we eliminated a lot of the full-time positions.
Right.
Because that's where it's not just salary, it's benefits, it's pension.
Correct.
So we do have some full-time employees there, but most of them came from Parks and Rec to begin with.
Got it.
And
So
everyone
they're
else,
existing
like certainly,
employees.
like people like, are you going to fire everybody? I'm like, well, I'm not going to teach yoga,
Right.
so we're going to have to hire yoga
love to see that.
instructors, right? Or
Yeah.
personal trainers, or pickleball people. So
Right.
we brought a lot of the employees back, which is good,
That's good.
and they're mostly part time. I mean, you go there, the gym is thriving.
That's what I hear.
We
I
now
hear
have
it's a great
meeting
place.
rooms that groups can use.
Right. That's great too. I don't see a ton of promotion for it. I mean, I hear about it from people.
Right. Well, we only started December 15th.
So 2 months. Yeah.
It's
Wow,
a
so you
couple.
guys get 2,600 members in 2 months.
Yeah. So
good.
we're kind of like getting our feet wet, make sure we have everything proper
Right.
until we have an open house. And then we'll invite everybody in and really have a big membership
Got it.
drive.
You have
But it's going great.
The mayor ribbon cutting.
Yeah. Everybody's
Property.
having
Right.
fun.
That's great.
There's people exercising. And
Yeah, that's good. And it's a place to go for the kids.
yeah,
I think that's great.
We had a dance there for special needs kids. It's It's been a great
That's great.
program. I'm very happy. It's probably a great thing that we did.
And the fact that it's not a 200,000 square foot warehouse is absolutely
But it is
key.
a 150,000 square foot building. It is big. And the way we paid for this is I try to explain this to people. We have an open space tax
Right.
in the township, which we collect every year. And we collect about $1 million a year from that fund. So we're taking the open space fund and dedicating to purchase price of the Y for the next 10 years, and we will have covered the purchase price.
It's great.
So it's not a new tax that's covering this.
Right.
And the fees that we charge to join offset the cost. So I tell people, we have to charge you to come here because we have to keep the lights on. I mean, it's a big thing.
Of course.
So I did want to get back to, we were talking about the schools for just a second.
Yes.
And I know that's a hot button. Where are we going to put all the kids? What's going to happen? And I'm not going to try to punt this to the Board of Education, but this is solely on the heels of the Board of Education. They would have to decide who's going to go to what school, what street's going to do this, is there going to be redistricting? But I think they should take the position. Now, you remember just a year ago, there was a $169 million bond referendum
That didn't get
was
approved.
put before us and did not get approved. And if you remember, I was against it.
Right.
I thought it was too much money that we couldn't afford. But interesting enough, it's a year later, and we haven't heard a word.
I didn't hear anything about it. After it didn't get approved, that was it. It was over.
A year ago, they were crying that the sky was falling, that we were full of children. We had no more room to put anybody. But here we are a year later.
Everybody's like, your kid's going to be learning in a trailer,
Right.
like all that
and,
stuff.
and nothing
Right,
has happened.
know-
So we just take one day at a time. Will there be more kids? Yeah, I'm sure there will be.
a lot of, and this is like politics overall, and I'm not getting like very political on this at all. I want to keep it, based, but I feel like a lot of people push their agendas out there based off fear, and that's not the best way to do it, because that creates what we see today in this world is the divide.
Well, listen, the only way that I have been able to stay as mayor for this long is like I tell people, I am what I am. I can only tell you the truth.
Right.
Sometimes people don't like the truth.
Yeah.
I have office
very
hours
true.
every Tuesday night for 17 years now.
Yep.
And I meet with residents every week. Some I try to help people, but some people just can't be helped.
Yeah.
You got to follow the laws. It kind of works that way.
100%.
Whether it's building or zoning or they need a building permit, we try to help people.
That's on my list too. I want to touch on that for a sec. But I guess, one of my questions too with the kids, and this, I don't know if this is a, BOE question or if you're able to answer this, like, is there a calculation that these developers come in with and say, okay, we're building 400 units here. Of those 400 units, we project, 1.5 children per every 3 units.
Yeah, there's a formula that was done by, I think it was the Blaustein School at Rutgers University. That's kind of like the universal form that everybody uses. And that predicts the number of students based on the number of bedroom count.
Got it.
So the board has been given all the numbers that we have, and I'm not sure, what they've done with them.
Do you know those numbers?
I don't off the top of my head how many kids are coming. I know there's kids
just the
coming.
projection, like based off
A couple
that,
hundred, I'm
the
sure,
whatever.
are coming.
Okay, got it.
If all the units are built and when they're built. I mean, just because someone has approval does not mean they're going to be
That
built.
might be 5-10 years down the road.
Oh, especially the Toys R Us.
Right. So I hear in that Toys R Us too. I think I spoke to Chris in planning just to get a rundown, so I knew what I was talking about here. 1360 in Toys R Us.
Yes.
Okay, and plus commercial.
Right. The commercial buildings that are there are staying.
Any restaurants?
we
That was a viewer or commenter question.
So the restaurants in Toys R Us are permitted use because inside the Toys R Us complex, we're going to have a mixed use area where there'll be apartment buildings on top of stores, and the bottom floor will be either restaurants or a bank, things like that, and on top will be some apartments.
That's cool.
So we're going to encourage restaurants that are being built in Toys R Us.
And those are going to be rentals, or are those going to be owner-occupied properties?
So the developers of Toys R Us have really not declared whether they're going to be rentals or for sale units.
Right.
So we know definitely that the GAF site is for sale.
Got it. 100% of those.
100% of those are
Really?
going to be for sale.
Got it. It's great for us, right? We need the inventory.
Absolutely.
Definitely need the inventory.
And they're going to, like I said, that density is so low, they're going to be beautiful on the side of the mountain.
Right. And then you also have So Wayne Bridge. Wayne Bridge is the
Windbridge is on the corner of Jeffrey Road and Hamburg Turnpike.
okay.
Those are going to be apartments. So those will be for rent.
Yep. Then you got Rockledge. Those are the Hotmanians.
Rockledge is the KHAV. Those are for sale.
Got it. Those are townhomes, right?
Those are townhomes. I believe there's 100 and
105. The 105. Yep. And then, so is this what's it called? The Galladay? The
It's
one by
called
Route
Galray.
Galray. That's it. Got it.
So that's on Route
spelled it wrong.
23, opposite Wayne Lincoln Mercury.
Right.
Those are all rentals.
I didn't realize how big that space was until they cleared it
Until
out.
they cut the trees
Oh my
down, then you
God.
look and you're like, wow, I
huge.
can't believe that's there. Yeah.
That's huge. And so they're putting a Chick-fil-A and the Wawa there.
In the front along Route 23, and then
Got
the
it.
rear is the apartments.
That's 232 units, I believe.
Yeah, I think they have a 10% set aside.
Okay. And then this is the big question too, especially, in my neck of the woods here, the Macy's and Preakness Shopping Center. So that was approved years ago for 244 units and a parking garage or something like that. And I was told that the price of the building or the price to build went up so much that they put the project on hold, and that's on the owners.
So I think what happened was they got approved right before COVID. Mm-hmm. Then COVID came, interest rates went up,
went nuts.
right?
Yeah.
And then to get any building materials, prices went up crazy. So we've given them extensions. We just gave them their last extension that they're permitted. And people are like, why'd you give them an extension? I'm like, well, why not? Why, I mean, what
You're not gonna
purpose would it
extend it?
serve?
Then they're just going to go through it anyway.
Right.
And,
So they were given approval to build 252 apartments, knock down the Macy's, finally knock down the IHOP.
Oh, so that's going to be part of it too. The
Well,
IHOP.
that's going to be something else. Another building they're building over there, a
same,
smaller
same
building.
owner, same owner in that.
It's all
Is that all
Hakimian.
Hakimian? Oh, that is all Hakimian there.
Yeah.
Because somebody told me the Macy's was owned. It was
no.
completely
He
different.
owns everything,
Gotcha.
including the TD Bank up on.
Oh, really? I did
Yeah,
not
this
know
property goes back there. Huh. So we've spoken to Hakimian to ask, hey, what's going on?
Driving through Preakness Shopping Center, it's like, what is going on here? It's
I know it's depressing. It's
What I
certainly-
hear, it's
so
an-
I can tell you this.
Yeah.
They are the 9th largest taxpayer in the township of Wayne.
Well,
And they continue to pay their taxes.
That's a-
Does
that's a
it
great
look
thing.
terrible? Absolutely. Do we wish we had something else there? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But we can't control
can't force them.
private industry. We don't own that property.
Yeah.
We don't own the GAF property or the Avalon Bay property. These are private enterprise.
Right. It's like somebody owning their house,
Right.
and not cutting your grass or doing that stuff. Like you can do what you can do within the law, but you
Right.
you can't go there and
So
cut
people are
somebody's
like,
grass for
why
them,
did you
right?
allow the shopping center where Moore Funeral Home was built right across the street? Why'd you allow that to go up when there's empty stores in Preakness Shopping Center? And the answer is so simple. They're
free
both
market.
different developers.
Yeah, it's free market.
And they have the right, exactly, they have the right to develop
Mm-hmm.
under the statute, and that's what they did. Even though Crumble Cookie was crazy in the beginning.
Yeah, it's settled down.
Oh,
It
much
definitely
it's settled down.
Yeah,
But people
definitely
stood
settled
out there in the rain to buy it.
down. It was
You know,
chaos. I did a video on it. I'm like, there's nobody in GNC,
Right.
and everybody's at Crumble. I'm like, what's wrong with this picture?
I mean, we had to have the police over there. It was
was-
a
it was crazy.
zoo in the
Yeah, it
beginning.
was crazy.
Like I never saw anything.
For a
I mean,
cookie.
the cookies are
They're all right. I get them every once in a while when I need some extra calories.
when you
from
need some
working
sweets,
out,
they're
yeah,
good.
They are.
But
Yeah.
would I stand out in the rain for them?
No,
I don't
absolutely
think
not.
so.
I
But
would,
people
I
did.
would what it all cost. Which actually brings me to a question that somebody asked me as well. When all these units go up by Macy's, let's say, because that light over there gets crazy.
Right.
There's kind of gridlock if the light by Alps Fields over there, if that's red and the other one's green, next thing you know, you got gridlock on Hamburg Turnpike and Alps Road. So when these Macy's units go over there, you're going to add another 250 people. Is there any I guess plans to modify infrastructure or
Well, if you remember so you have two county roads
Mm-hmm.
right there. You have Alps Road and you have Hamburg Turnpike. So neither of those roads are owned by the township of Wayne.
Got it.
Or do we have really any? We don't plow them. We don't pave them. They're owned by the county.
kind of like a not my problem kind of thing?
Well,
but-
I hate to say it that way, but
Right.
we can't venture onto those roadways.
Right.
And if you remember, the county just upgraded the roadway by putting the pass-through behind the soccer fields
Right.
to come around so you can go straight
I didn't know that was
across.
the county. I didn't know
Yeah,
the county
so
did
the county
Got it.
did that jug handle.
So, again, another thing, being very involved in this town and the community and knowing a lot of stuff here and knowing you, I had no idea. So I would venture to say there's a lot of people out there that have no idea that that's county too.
Right. Hamburg Turnpike is not ours.
Got it. Got it.
So when it's not plowed properly, it's not us.
We know when a tire pops in a pothole, we're going to county.
Right, exactly.
Since it's county, do you have, maybe not you specifically, but does the township have any influence over what the county does with it?
So I would say the I was going to call them freeholders, but they're not anymore. The Board of Commissioners does reach out.
They changed their names?
Yes,
I
they're
didn't
not
know that.
freeholders anymore. They're commissioners. It's about 2 years now.
Everybody was calling them something else. So
Yes,
they changed it.
I know. That's why they changed their name. So they do ask us for our opinion, but they're really their own board, and
Yeah. They do their own thing.
and I will tell you that we send more money to them than we spend on our own budget here in Wayne.
Wow. Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
You gotta pay the piper, right? Let's see, the affordable housing requirements. So really quick, back to Preakness Shopping Center.
Okay.
I get this so many times. I'm sure you've heard it. We need a center of town. We need a, place for everybody to walk around and all this stuff. How do you get that in front of Hakimi and be like, hey, this could be a gold mine for you guys?
Well, it's interesting. 8 years ago, when I tried to pitch that program for Wayne Hills Mall
Yep.
and also for Preakness Shopping Center, we had like an insurrection in Wayne. People went wild, and that's how we ended up with those orange signs that said "Do not rezone Wayne." That was 8 years ago. Now here we are 8 years
remember
later,
the
and
signs.
people are like, "Why can't we have mixed use?" I'm like, "We tried giving it to you. You didn't want it 8 years ago." That's how we ended up with the ShopRite at Wayne Hills Mall instead of developing into some kind of town center type. But it's really too late for the town center. That should have been done years ago.
Yeah.
I think Preakness Shopping Center they could do a few things to make it better. I don't like all the parking.
Yeah. It's a huge parking
Right,
lot.
and
It's
half the
massive.
parking lot is not used.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
think they could
Probably three-quarters.
redesign the parking lot to put in some green spaces so people could do things.
See, you have,
people
like-
need a walkable place.
100%. Like you got the promenade in Clifton. You
Right.
got the
And that
what is
would have
it,
been
the
perfect.
Riverside Square or whatever in Paramus. There's another one. And everybody who says that's the one thing that Wayne's missing. That's the one thing that Wayne's missing. I don't necessarily think that's like missing because people do congregate to like certain areas, right? And we do have Willowbrook where you have this huge like mass of people that go. But to have something that's walkable like that, I would definitely side with pretty much everybody out there and say that would be huge if that would still be an option.
I mean, you'd have to
Preakness.
take a huge neighborhood and revitalize it, redesign it for that. And
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Got it. All right. Any plans for that Kmart? Anybody looking at that thing or?
Not yet.
Got it. I got
They're
some plans.
they're
I got some
still
plans
paying-
for that. My wife thinks I'm crazy, but I think that-
Pickleball
Pickleball.
would work there. Think about it. You got a big open place. You get a pickleball, play lacrosse in there. You can do a lot of things in there.
I think like a revamped, new, modern Skaters World type place could be a great spot for
Wow, you are old. Huh?
that. I'm definitely dating myself.
I remember Skaters World.
I had somebody ask about senior housing. Do we have any senior housing coming to Wayne?
So there is a proposal before the Board of Adjustment right now to build, I believe it's 250 units of 55 and older on Hamburg Turnpike, closer towards Pompton Lakes, near the intersection of Colfax.
Got it.
So that's before the Board of Adjustment now. And again, because it's new housing, 20% of that would be set aside for low and moderate income housing.
Right.
I mean, we have Four Seasons, but Four Seasons is full.
It's expensive too.
And
Right.
the prices of Four Seasons have gone up,
Yep.
surprisingly. So this is something different for me, a rental 55 and older. So like a senior apartment complex.
Yeah, you're not quite like the Bristol or the
Right.
other one over there,
But there's a
you're-
lot of amenities built into this.
right.
So
Yep.
there'll be a lot of things for seniors to do. And 55 and older, you still could have a younger crowd in the beginning.
Right. Yep. Yeah, and you grow into it. Would this be a town owned thing or just a private developer?
No, it's a
thing?
private
Yeah.
development.
Got it. couple other questions too. Fire/police/EMS, emergency services.
Let me just go over this whole thing about what is our form of government, and I will get to that.
Yep.
Because I don't think people understand that either. They're like, Wayne is going to become a city. Well, Wayne's not going to become a city, and I'm going to tell you why. The difference between a township and a city is a different form of government. So in order for Wayne to change from a township to a city, the voters would have to decide to change our form of government. We could be a township and have 180,000 people here. It's not governed by the amount of people.
I always thought that was a number too. There was like 70,000 or something like
It has
that.
nothing. The total number. Go look at Woodbridge. They have a much higher population than the township of Wayne. Same form of government. So whether
Got
you
it.
like to call it a city, it's not. It'll always be a township. So the question comes on with paid fire and EMS. There is no regulation that says once you hit X population, you have to go to a paid fire department or a paid first aid squad. Right now, we have volunteers doing both. We have 5 fire companies. We have 5 ambulances, all volunteer, and they're doing fine.
Got it.
I don't anticipate us going to a paid fire company.
Yeah,
or a
because
paid
that's something
ambulance.
that I've heard like, oh, we have to pay the fire department and all this stuff too. And if you put that many residents into the town, does that I would think some of those residents too may join a volunteer force too. You got to take that into
And
consideration.
for all those people that are complaining, instead of being so negative, why don't you
do
join
something
the
about it.
first aid
Right.
squad?
Yeah.
Right?
Like, I'm not running into a burning building. then
Become a
okay,
volunteer
then-
fireman.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? They're great people.
Yeah,
They have great
100%.
organizations. I couldn't be prouder of them.
100%. Yep. Yeah. We
You know,
definitely
people
have
ask
great
about
men
the police department. Oh, you're going to need all these new police. Like, we have 126 men and women in the police department now. We're fine.
Yeah.
We have a great new young chief who's doing a great job, Joe Rooney. We're very happy with him.
It's awesome.
So things are moving along well there. But people always say, oh, you're going to become a city. I'm like, no, we're not.
Yeah.
Like,
didn't
that
know
would be
that
a
was
big undertaking to change the form of government. And right now, the form of government is Faulkner type F.
Got it.
There's a quiz at the end of this, so you have to know that.
I gotta write this down. I gotta take my
and what
notes.
does that mean? It means strong mayor. And what does that mean? So the mayor, basically through the business administrator, runs the town. So we have about 600 employees, and they all report up the food chain to the business administrator who works for the mayor. The council, on the other hand, is the legislative body. So we negotiate all contracts. We hire all and take care of all the employees. They report to us. There's only 4 employees that report to the council, and those are the employees of the clerk's office. Everyone else reports to the administration, including the police department.
Got it.
So it's a little bit different. So I just wanted to explain that because I hear that all the time.
Is this something that, like, let's say 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road, you're no longer the mayor, somebody else is in here, this is something they could bring up and the residents vote on it, or is something that
the residents,
changes internal?
no, the residents would have to vote on it. But the big question is, do you really want to spend that much money to have a referendum?
No.
What are you going to end up changing? Why would you want to change the form of government? 'Cause
Correct.
like the council's the checks and balances of the administration. They have to approve our budget every year. Every time we can't spend money on our own. When I say we, I mean the administration. So I can't say, okay, I want to buy the YMCA without the municipal council. And by the way, they were unanimous on their vote to purchase it, which I was very happy with.
Yeah, and so I was just asking, could the residents vote on this just so that one person doesn't come in and be like, oh, we're turning into a city, and that's it.
No.
So the people do have a say. So the ones that might be saying, oh my God, Wayne's going to turn into a city, like, well, if you
But what benefit-
exercise your right to
Right,
vote,
but what
that's-
benefit
may
would
not
we
happen.
have by becoming a city? I don't know.
Never even looked into it.
Right.
never really wanted to even put the energy into.
I think
that.
it's just talking points people have
Again, it's
that
the
they
fear.
just don't understand.
It's the fear.
And like people are saying to me, why are you allowing all this building to take place? I'm like, it's called the state of New Jersey. Go talk to Phil Murphy. And
Right.
it's not
Phil,
me.
Send Phil an email. And then this was also a little bit of this is a hot topic, I'm sure, for you as well. Taxes. We think the taxes with all this development is going to go up, go down, stay the same. how do these developments impact the ratables and all that stuff?
So-
Because we do have some good commercial construction going on too.
Right. So
which I think will help.
as the rateable base increases, that lowers everybody's assessment.
Got it.
And therefore the taxes would be going down or be stabilized. So if you think about the 400 units are being built at Avalon Bay, they have to be worth X amount. I mean, they're spending,
They're spending a ton of money to build that.
right.
Right.
It's the old 400,000 at probably 400,000 a unit. So, they're spending a lot of money and they're going to be assessed for that construction cost. So they'll be paying more money and bring up the rateable base.
Got it.
The unfortunate thing is when you bring up our rateable base, that means we pay more to the school system and to the county. So for example,
So it's already allotted for based on our availability of the funds.
correct.
for the most
So
part.
when you pay your taxes, let's say your taxes were $10,000. Wouldn't that be nice?
I wish.
But if your taxes were $10,000, $5,200 of that goes to the Board of Ed.
Right.
And then $2,700 goes to the county, then the rest comes to the town. So when I say the town, what do we do with the money? We have the police department.
Yeah.
We give money to the fire company and the first aid squad. We buy their vehicles. We pick up your garbage and recycling every week. We run all these athletic programs. We build fields and playgrounds.
Yeah. Yep.
So we do a lot for
Community centers.
for the 22 cents on the dollar that we get.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I have a great group at Town Hall. I mean, I couldn't be happier with our department heads, our division heads, and all the employees do a really nice job. Do we hiccup on occasions? Absolutely. But none of us are perfect and will never be perfect. But we just try as hard as we can.
So it's kind of safe to say the majority of our taxes go to our schools.
Yes. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we have a good school system.
We have a very good school system.
Yep.
Right.
And that's why my parents moved here
Yeah.
in
And that's,
1962. And that's why I raised my kids here.
correct. And, my kids are in the schools. They get tons of help. We use the system, the school system, and it's great. It's definitely great. Being a realtor in town, people move here for the schools.
Absolutely. I say that all the time.
Yeah.
People move here for the school.
Creates value for the town.
It does.
Definitely creates value for the town. And then, the I guess, the infrastructure side of that too, with all these people coming around, like roads get damaged, stuff like that. But, you do you hit on the county roads and stuff too, which a lot of these kind of are right in that county road space. With that 22% tax that we have, granted, the buildings are going to bring in more tax money. Does this put some kind of, I guess, stress on our roads that we have now?
So remember, the roads that we have now that the township is responsible for are all off of the main roads. So like we have the road in front of your house, but that's about it. We don't have, Ratzer Road, Alps Road, Hamburg Turnpike is not ours. Valley Road is not ours. Those are all county roads. So we spend over $2 million a year on road resurfacing for township roads, which is a lot of money.
Yeah.
And we use a list. We try to use a list of what are the worst roads to pave first.
Got it.
It's not a perfect system. Some people are happy. Some people are unhappy. I mean,
You're never going to make 100% of the people happy 100% of the time.
We just repaved the entire Lions Head Lake because they just went through a gas main change
Right.
with PSE&G.
There's a lot of streets there.
Yes, and we had PSE&G pay 70% of it.
Okay.
Well, they did the damage too.
Right. Yeah, that's great. One of the things you mentioned too. So let's see. I want to make sure I want to hit on all the people's questions that
I have no notes.
you're doing good. You're doing good. Two other things. I'll save that for last. So you mentioned the permits and all that stuff for our residents now. And this was something I put at the end too. It's like I feel like, again, being in the business that I'm in and doing what I do, having to deal with open permits and stuff like that, and people doing work to their house and buying houses and working with some, smaller builders, building one house here, 2 or 3 houses there. It seems like it is somewhat difficult. Let's say somewhat difficult. I would not even beat around the bush. Like it's hard to get stuff approved in town. And I'm sure you heard that somewhere along the way too. Why does it seem like that's hard to get? And then like some of these bigger developments seem like they're so easy to get pushed through, which I personally don't think so. This is just something that somebody asked. So I'm like, this is how I'm going to present it.
Yeah, I think the problem is that people have to follow the rules. Okay, and a lot of times, listen, we're not perfect. I said that before, and a lot of the people I meet with on Tuesday nights, residents are coming in, they're having difficulty getting building permits. But if somebody's having difficulty, they need to pick up the phone and call and say, I'm having difficulty. Is there anything we can do? And what we try to do is set up meeting with the residents and with our engineering group and with building to figure out what's the common ground that we can make this work. So it is a problem. It's something I've trying to address for many, many years now. We have all in-house staff that does our reviews, but it's not a perfect system.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of movement with zoning permits and building permits.
Yeah, and stuff changes a lot too,
Right.
as far as the regulations and all that stuff too. Yeah, I met with somebody that's building a house that wants to put it on the market, and he's like, I'm never building another house in Wayne again. And that's not the first time I heard that. But
we are very strict. I will say that right now.
You want it done right.
We are strict
you definitely
because
want it
we're
done
trying
right.
to protect the people that are going to buy that house.
Yeah.
And we're trying to protect you as the neighbor to make sure that they're not doing anything to hurt the neighborhood.
Yeah.
For example, we're making sure that their ground coverage is not above what's allowed in that zone. So
Yeah,
we
not
spend
only-
a lot of time doing that, and some people are not happy with it, I will admit.
Yeah, and you want the people to be safe too, right? Like you don't want to you got to do the electrical stuff right so that you're not jumping in a pool and getting electrocuted. So
Exactly.
yeah, no, I
And pools don't always fit in backyards.
Correct. And being an agent, like, I'm going to put a pool in. Like, well, you got to check with the town first. So you make sure you do that. So,
One thing we haven't talked about is the flood buyout program that Wayne has participated in. And interesting enough, over the years, development has been quiet in the flood area because we have applied for and been very successful in obtaining over $100 million. And we have purchased over 350 homes in the flood area. So what did that do? It took people out of harm's way. It did reduce our rateable base by a small amount.
right.
But we also lost school-age children because people moved to other towns. And because of that, the student population at the schools had actually gone down for a little while.
Interesting.
And that was one of the factors in that happening.
Got it. That's interesting. How many houses did you buy?
I
350?
think we're at 352 right now.
it.
So we're very proud of that. We've been the most successful community in the state of New Jersey in applying for and
Nice.
getting FEMA funds.
I was going to say, this is
This is
state
all
money
through
or federal
FEMA.
money. Yeah.
Right. It's all 100% funding.
Got it.
But it's made a big difference in people's lives.
Yeah,
Plus,
100%.
it's taken the risk away from our first responders, our fire department, the first aid squad, and our police because, what happens in the middle of a flood at 3 a.m., grandma has chest pains,
Correct.
right? And they have to go in and get her and bring her out and launch boats to do that.
Yep.
So by limiting the number of people we still have in the flood area, it's made a big difference.
Got it. And what's the process for somebody that wants to see if they're approved or could apply for something like that?
Well, there's all kinds of formulas and lists that are put out by FEMA. So they give us a list of who's eligible, then we contact the residents to see if they're interested. Because some people want to stay, and I don't blame them.
Right, it's their home.
It's a voluntary program. We don't force anybody out. But if you drive around the flood area, you'll see there's a lot of lots that are empty.
Correct. Yeah, especially off of down like Bolton over that way towards 23. There's a few down there.
Yes.
Yep.
But interesting enough, the houses that are right adjacent to those empty lots are still selling for ridiculous
money,
prices.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, in this market, people don't care about flood.
And people who are looking at houses in the flood area, they call me and say, what do you think about being in the flood area? And I tell them, I don't believe it's a good idea.
It's a risk.
You don't know.
Yeah. It hasn't flooded in 20 years.
Yeah.
Okay. That means it's probably due.
Yeah. I mean, I can remember President Obama coming to visit us. So that wasn't
I
that
remember
long
that.
ago.
Huh. Why don't I
That was
remember
during
that?
Sandy.
Okay.
Well, come to my office. You'll see the picture.
Sandy, I do remember. I don't remember Obama being here though.
Yeah, he was here.
Got it. And we'll wrap this up here. But taxes were the biggest one. Let's see. Is there a place for people to voice their opinions or to be heard on any of these developments, that are going up? Like, is there any?
Well, absolutely. So there's a couple of opportunities. The first is when the council is approving the developers' agreements to move forward with these projects. These are all done in public meetings. The ordinances are introduced at one meeting and then adopted at a later meeting. They can go there. When the plan goes before the planning board for site plan approval, they can attend planning board meetings. They can voice their opinions there. Those are really the two ways to come out and talk in favor of or opposed to it. And, we understand people are concerned. I mean, there's 400 units going up. And if you lived right there, you'd be worried too, because you want to make sure that they're not going to do any damage to your property.
Yeah.
That the
Or
water
the values.
Where's the water going?
Yeah.
But do I think putting these units is going to affect anybody's home value? Absolutely not.
My personal opinion, I truly do not think it will negatively impact home values. I don't. Everybody's like, oh, they're knocking down the funeral home. They're putting this commercial here. Is this going to affect my home value? I'm like, I don't think so. If there was nothing there and you put this up, very likely.
Right.
If they're knocking down a commercial building and putting up another commercial building, I don't think so. If they're knocking down commercial buildings that were huge and, tower-like and putting in residential units, I don't think so.
I don't think building a Chipotle is going to affect the...
No.
Although
No, or Chick-fil-A or,
It made people very happy that there's a Chipotle
my
there.
kid's there every night, man. I'm like, how do you, it's like every night. I'm like, I got to stop paying for this stuff. But yeah, Chipotle's good. So on a separate note, just to touch base on the where people can go to voice their opinions and be heard. When I put this post out on social media, I had somebody that I'm very good friends with, actually at NJ Realtors in Trenton. They're kind of like our state governing body for real estate agents. He reached out to me and just said that he can definitely help advocate and spread awareness through postcards and mailings and stuff like that if we ever need that in town here.
Okay.
He's like, we do this for towns. He's like, this is a part of our budget and blah blah blah. If you ever need help with this, he's happy to get.
So we're facing the same problems as every other town.
Yeah,
except our numbers are huge.
Because we're a bigger town.
We're a bigger town. We have bigger incomes.
Yep.
And
a little bit of a target, I think.
It is, and our
Wayne's always
total
had a target.
valuation is high. So they look at Wayne, they look at Paramus, they say you can afford more units, and then we have to find a way to do that.
Got it.
So
I feel like Wayne always has a target on his back in football and sports, and it's everywhere. He goes. Oh,
I don't know what it is. They have a very nice mayor, so I haven't figured that out.
Good
yet.
agents too. Right. So that's great. I mean, I think I pretty much hit on everything.
Well, this was great. This is very.
I definitely I appreciate your time, man. I think this is much needed too to just get the word out there on what's going on in town, and
and if anybody has a question and they want to talk to me, easy way, they can call my assistant Barbara.
She's great, by the way.
She runs the town.
She is such a lovely
And
woman.
she will schedule you in, or they can email me at mayor@waynetownship.com.
Got it. Does that go directly to you?
It goes directly to my phone, sitting right over here.
Did you actually check it?
I don't have people that screen my emails.
right.
Like, people are like, how come you responded to my email at 11:30 at night? I'm like, because you emailed me and I wanted to get you while I'm watching the news. And my wife's like, who are you talking to? I'm like, oh no, I'm just answering somebody. That's all.
You are a true people's mayor. There's no
I
question
appreciate
about
that.
it. I hear that
try.
from a lot of people, and my goal coming into this is being as neutral as possible. And I truly think you do a great job. Right? There's people out there that look, you can never make 100% of the people happy 100% of the time.
Oh no, I know it's hard to believe. There are some people that actually don't like me. But you know what? As I said to people, listen, I'm a cancer survivor. There is nothing that you can say to me that affects me.
Yep.
I will do my best.
God bless you, man. Yep. I appreciate your time, man.
All right.
Thank you so much.
This was good.